Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of the scene.
Yo, what the fuck is up, Warped Tour? The state of the scene at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Sam here with Marcos. What the fuck is up, Marcos?
Hey, everyone.
Come Your fucking energy,
Just like the
bro.
most fucking normie,
Your
like.
fucking energy, bro. Coming up on today's episode, Linkin Park have dropped a new single alongside a big announcement. Evanescence are in their anime era. Plus, we've got the early review for the newest album from Thornhill and lots more.
We're going to work on this sort of teaser intro here.
You don't like my teaser intro? You think you could do it better than that?
I think it needs a little bit of post-prod, if you know what I'm... Like, we use that in the industry, post-production.
When you say the industry, do you mean when you don't fucking edit a single thing ever for like 10 years? Is that the industry you're talking about specifically?
Hey, you're going to call what you were doing 8 years ago editing?
Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me right now. What the fuck was I saying? Oh, yeah. But before we get to all that juicy alternative music news, I've been playing Dead Island 2.
Okay.
And I'm kind of a little bit like just sort of addicted to it. I'm not going to lie. I'm sort of addicted to it.
No shot. Really?
Bro, thinking about it before bed every night.
What's now?
Waking up thinking
what's
about
Dead
it.
Island 2 about, Sam? For
Okay,
the people at home who don't own the internet.
Imagine, if you will, a zombie apocalypse
No.
takes place in Los Angeles.
No.
And that's pretty much the gist of it, right? And every character is like weirdly annoying, but in a way that's sort of funny.
Because you
surprisingly,
get to, like, kill them or watch them die.
No. I mean, a little bit of that, certainly. But like, even the main character is very quippy in like a little bit of a Gen Z kind of way that should be a massive turnoff immediately, but isn't somehow.
Challenging here. I'm throwing a flag on this play, Sam.
Like, just very silly, but like deeply enjoyable.
I thought that this game's whole thing was that you weren't any one character. You could be like anyone.
So that is the case. Like at the very beginning, you're able to choose from like an assortment of 6 character types, right? But ultimately they're just a version of the same character with like different makeup each time. Like they're all very
deathcore guy, metalcore guy.
There was an emo girl. I did not choose her. I did not choose the emo girl.
Really?
I didn't choose the emo girl. I'm sorry.
You're fake. You're fake.
There was another character. Her whole thing was that like she had to hurry up and solve the zombie apocalypse so she could get to her Olympic tryouts. And I'm like, this is novel. I want to be this character.
What did the emo person's like? What did their backstory look like?
Shit, because she died. Because I let her die, bro.
No.
It's co-op though, so if you wanted to get a copy and play with me, you could be an emo girl.
I own a copy.
You just like MGK
Game
said,
Pass.
you could be an emo girl. You too could be an emo girl.
That's what he meant when he said that?
Yeah. Emo girl.
So you're saying it's like
you.
Just more of a mindset than anything else.
I do like the idea that being an emo girl is a mindset, because in that sense, I do feel like an emo girl very often.
I think we're aligned.
I also feel like zombie apocalypse is a mindset too. Like I would survive that shit because I have the right grind mentality.
No, you've got like more of the loner quality. Like you don't let strangers in.
Sure.
So like therefore you have like a one up.
Do you let strangers in?
Like if a mom and like 3 kids. We're talking like 2 months into the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Came like knocking on the door.
That's what I mean by grind set,
There's
bro.
a horde out there. You let them get eaten.
Survivalist above all else, okay? You can't trust anybody. People be lying about being bitten by other people all the time. You've seen it happen.
Well, they're not quite lying. They're just not really saying it happened.
They're lying. They're very much lying. Every link you need can be found in the description of this episode, including our playlist updated weekly with every song you hear on the show and more, plus socials, merch store, Discord, and our Patreon. Patreon.com/SOTS podcast. You can sign up for only $3 a month. You get access to our deluxe episode feed. This week, we react, talk over, and review the new split EP, Bloom in Heaven, from Silent Planet and Invent Animate. And maybe we'll talk some more about zombies. You never know with these fucking deluxe episodes. Again,
we've never done that.
We've never done what?
We've never
done like a live reaction.
This is
new.
We're
trying it out. We're gonna feel it out. We're going to see if it works for us. But I thought it was a fun idea, right? It's short. It's only 3 songs. It seemed like a surmountable challenge. $3 a month.
And only three. Three's the theme, Sam.
$1 per song reaction. Patreon.com/SOTS podcast.
I don't get to tell a fun story
In the description of this episode. Do you have a fun story before we get into
well
the news? You're more than welcome.
now I'm a little bit more
No,
like
fine.
I'm a little
We're not going to sit here and fucking pretend like you ever bring a single goddamn story to this show. You're not going to sit here and make me feel bad like I skipped your story when I literally have to like fucking...
No, I'm the story guy now. That's like the whole thing after last episode. I have stories now.
Okay, now, all right. By all
now
means,
I don't think I want to share them because like I feel like you're...
Pray tell. Pray tell your story. Please. We're waiting with bated breath. You have a real opportunity here because I came in soft with my bullshit this week. Whereas like, what are you up to? I'm like, I played a video game. Yay, fun, cool. It's about zombies. Real interesting.
I did something that like I feel like is really hard to do.
Math?
I finished off the bottle of cologne that I've been using for like the last 4 years.
What the fuck are you talking about? I didn't even know you wore cologne.
I've
never once smelled
like
cologne on you ever. What are you spraying?
It's been water this whole time.
Like, you spray a vinyl on your way out the door every morning? Do you do that thing? Where you spray it in the air and you do like...
Bro, I've been wearing that CK this whole fucking time. You better not come at me sideways this way.
Are you wearing it right now?
No, I ran out. That's the whole fucking story.
Convenient.
Keep up.
You've had it for 4 years.
I think it's like maybe a little less.
Okay, that's impressive. Regardless,
Yeah.
like let's say you had it for like 3.5 years. That is an impressive length of time for a bottle.
Well, for me, it felt like like finishing like a pen, having not lost it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I finish pens a lot quicker than 4 years, but I do generally.
Yeah, but no, you don't. You don't. You
Yeah,
lose
yeah.
the pen before you've ever finished the ink.
I don't think I've ever lost a pen in my life. Now that you bring
Have
it
you
up.
ever finished a cologne bottle in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
all the way to the last possible spray?
My problem is generally that I'll finish a cologne bottle and then I won't buy one for 4 to 6 years.
So that's
what I mean?
my struggle is that like I've like kept going on and off like Amazon.
You were doing Calvin Klein?
CK.
Expensive?
CK.
Was it a pricey cologne?
It was like base level.
How much did you smell like $60? You smell like $100?
One bando. No, 100.
No, what's if I ever fucking smell cologne on you? I think you need a different flavor.
Money on so much. Imagine like I also like collected expensive fucking cologne.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's not in your budget, right?
It's not.
Because like you said, your fortune.
Do you know about
has gone
Jeremy
to
Fragrance?
Vital. Who?
Jeremy Fragrance.
If I took a shot in the dark and said this was an NBA player, how close would I be? Because they do be having ridiculous names like this.
having ridiculous names.
You know
like
who's got a
this.
wet jump shot? Jeremy Fragrance. Was that his name, Jeremy Fragrance?
Jeremy Fragrance, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's like the cologne guy on TikTok. He's
not actually an NBA player?
For being extremely strange. No, he's not an NBA player.
Is it fair to say that he probably has more followers and or listeners than we do? Like, is the fragrance business significantly more popular than the alternative music scene niche?
This week I saw like someone like they were like, hey, here's like this crazy like solar flare coming off the sun like photo that I took off my telescope.
I mean, that sounds cool.
It's like, hey, you can also fit like a million fucking Earths in just this small segment of this photo next to the sun, and that's
curious where you're going.
That's the difference between like us and Jeremy Fragrance.
Ah, okay.
He's the sun.
He took us on a little bit of a journey there, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to, if you wanted to follow Jeremy Fragrance on social media,
probably like at Jeremy Fragrance.
Yeah, let's just plug him. Let's just go ahead and plug him
at J Frag.
In the news this week.
The news.
Connie Sgarbossa, formerly of CU Space Cowboy, states a new Instagram story, quote, probably time to start a new band, end quote. Marcos, thoughts?
I feel like the last, out of everything that came out of the announced for the DGD?
Should we fill in the
DGD
context here? Fill in that context.
All right. So there was a Dance Gavin Dance tour announced.
Yeah.
CU Space Cowboy was support, and then they were very ungracefully not support, because the entire band just sort of imploded on itself.
I mean, they imploded due to the criticism that they received for taking this Dance Gavin Dance tour on the basis that people are still not or have not quite warmed up to Dance Gavin Dance after everything that happened with Tillian. And then after
who's not in the band anymore, but of course
people aren't happy with the way they handled
it.
Right. And then from that, at some point during that pushback, Connie Sgarbossa said, "Hey, it's done. It's over. I'm finished." They've since been replaced on the tour with Belmont.
Out on the whole, I don't even remember seeing
That's
another See You Space Cowboy member saying like, "Hey, well, we didn't want the band to end," or whatever it might have been. Because this was very clearly like two sides of a coin thing, where it's like, did the label push for See You Space Cowboy to go join this tour? Was it the other members? Like, we don't really know. The only person who seemed to be really against it was Connie.
She did say explicitly, like, I spoke up against this tour prior to them taking it. And then something along the lines of, I haven't been listened to for quite some time. And then now here's where we are. Yeah.
And one of the last things I remember that Connie spoke about, speaking on all of this, and as the band See You Space Cowboy sort of fell apart, was that Connie would be taking time away from music and that their passion was more in graphic design.
So she has been posting some designs she's been doing, unique designs on like shirts and stuff like that. And this is so like, what's the time lapse here? What are we talking? 2 months?
2 months,
maybe? Yeah, that sounds about
at
right.
Most 3.
What do you think the possibility is that this new band features other former members of See You Space Cowboy and additionally sounds something like See You Space Cowboy, and ultimately we end up with an amalgamation of See You Space Cowboy under a different name?
All feels real possible to me. I don't think that...
I think it just kind of makes it unfortunate then that ultimately we see You Space Cowboy fall apart in any capacity, and that they just don't bring back that band and then theoretically replace members with whom they are in disagreement with. But maybe it's just so messy, it's not worth that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this all seems to be... this continues to be like my least favorite story of the year. Like...
Oh, it's just a bummer because
cannot believe we entered 2025 by losing See You Space Cowboy. I don't think there's anyone happy with that.
Once again, it's for all the pushback that Dance Gavin Dance received, all that we succeeded in doing, and I say we in a sense as people who were deeply upset by this tour announcement, is getting a band that generally seemed to be one of the better ones to break up. Once again, feels very similar to the whole Oceano situation, where ultimately they end up breaking up for taking that Attila tour, and then Attila goes on to just replace them and tour anyways.
Which
seems like an incredibly unsuccessful campaign against those bands.
DGD did here as well. I forget who they announced, but I think they backfilled them with 2 artists, I thought?
1, just Belmont.
I thought it was 2.
No, it's Belmont, and the home team is still on that tour, and another band, I believe it's Dwellings, but I could be incorrect, and if I am, I apologize for that.
Dwellings.
But I'm almost positive that is the case.
It's a really unrelated circumstance, but it's funny that Belmont is both on this tour and this next tour that I'm going to mention, which was the Census Fail, Amity Affliction, Bad Omens at the time Belmont tour,
right?
Where it feels like in the same instance that all of the things that went down with that tour, where like Bad Omens eventually steps away because they felt disrespected about the size of their logo on the tour poster. In the same sense that Belmont were just sitting there as like the only party who didn't speak on anything, and were just like quietly watching really everything happen around them.
Seem to eagerly take these tour offers and then just like promptly go their own way.
Well, I'm saying Dwellings are the same instance here, where it's like, home team got some flack about joining this tour as well, and then Dance Gavin Dance or like whatever. Okay, well, we're not really going to say anything, but we're just going to backfill you and move on. And See You Space Cowboy sort of implode again and exit. And then there's just Dwellings. It's just like,
it's funny
just watching everything happen around them.
It is very funny you say that. I think in some capacity it can be your fan base, right? Like ultimately maybe that fan base is just sort of like unbothered or unmoved by it. But then also I think it's like the benefit of being the smallest artist on a tour, right? Because we had this conversation back when we were talking about like Oceano getting flack for that Attila tour, and then like we just went ahead and listed all the bands that have toured with Attila since people decided that they were problematic.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, I didn't see any of them get pushed back, and they've all gone on to have careers, and everyone still talks about them and is excited when they drop new music. So I am deeply baffled by the bands who seem to get the certain levels of pushback versus the others that just seem to skate by free, right? Though ultimately, I do feel like we've successfully accomplished nothing in getting See You Space Cowboy to break up, and I am very excited to have Connie Sgarbossa back in fronting a project.
I am, but I'm not, in the sense that, like, you were saying it earlier. It's like, man, all this, and we could have probably just kept See You Space Cowboy around with the main part still being Connie, and then whatever. Like, if you have to replace parts on the side, unless there was just a matter of, like, nothing else could have happened except this band had to break up because it was either Connie or the other members. But also, like, an instance like that, it feels like See You Space Cowboy would have continued on with just all the other members.
Maybe when...
So it's all so confusing.
I don't know exactly how these types of things work, but maybe when you're the one to step away, then you're not able to be the one to come back and sort of like claim ownership of the project. Like at that point, maybe it is in everybody else's hands to decide what they want to do with it. I don't entirely know. Maybe you have tarnished so many relationships across like labels and management and things like that, that it's not even worth restarting that project. Maybe what Evie Connie ends up doing is a smaller, more contained thing that, you know, may or may not tour, may or may not sign to a label, et cetera, et cetera.
Nah, fuck it. Let's go big. Get Iris.exe on the phone.
Okay.
Duo vocalist.
Ultimately, what you do want is just to rebuild See You Space Cowboy in some capacity. Yes, I do understand. Marcus, WRAL's weather reporter Chris Michaels is teasing a Sleep Token related announcement for March 29th via Instagram Reel. That will be 2 days before we release this, so we'll see if it manifests, but now we can simply only speculate. Fans were led to his account via clues left from the band in their Discord channel. Marcos.
Stuff like this doesn't sit right with me whatsoever, man. The idea of these fucking masked motherfuckers sitting at home on their Discord, I should, like, when I close my eyes and picture what this band is doing when they're not touring, like, they're just at a castle somewhere, like swishing wine around in a cup and like looking out across the meadow from their tower, like longingly, and writing on like these scrolls and like fucking recording music. Like, what is this? You guys are at home on your fucking Discord channel?
You're right. Like, it really kills...
Be a fucking real mysterious band and get the fuck off Discord.
It really kills the fantasy to imagine Vessel at home scrolling through his Instagram.
The idea that Vessel has a phone is disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Sleep Token should be fucking Mormon.
Like I'm imagining to myself Vessel mic'd up playing Call of Duty Warzone, and it really is killing the fantasy for me.
It's gross. I like, on a fundamental level, it shakes me to my core that these are things that are happening.
Yeah. 3, I'm making a Target run. Do you need anything? Right. You're right. Like, what the fuck are you on about?
2's
right
out
now?
here fucking door dashing. Be a fucking human and get the fuck off the electronics. This band needs to be Mormon.
If Sleep Token was door dashing in their free time, we'd have to have another real discussion about the music industry paying their artists, because that would be insane.
No. I mean, like, door dashing to their home.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. Just imagine a masked figure showing up to my front door with my fucking Five Guys order.
Awful. Get off Discord.
This is maybe one of the funnest rollouts we've ever had in the history of the fucking music scene, because the fact that you've got a weather reporter in on your fucking game at this point is wild.
What is happening?
Also, I don't want to brag, but
what are the clues?
I'm gonna soft brag right now. I don't know. I always show up at the end. The clues just led
to fucking Chris Michaels?
I show up at the end. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I'm at when everybody else has solved it, I show up like I was there the whole time. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, this puzzle was tough, but we did it, boys. Stay frosty for the next one, guys.
On the fucking group project.
Chris Michaels followed us on Instagram, and I'm gonna consider that a badge of honor. Yeah. North Carolina WRAL's weather reporter Chris Michaels followed State of the Sea. We're gonna find
out Chris Michaels was.
He's 4.
Like, he was in a band 11 years ago. He was like one of the OG members of Woe Is Me.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
I played guitar and designed the skyline.
Right. WRAL. So this is like a guy in North Carolina.
This is legitimate as hell. This is an actual weather
That's
reporter.
not answering my question.
For an actual, what do you mean? Is this a guy in North Carolina?
Where
the fuck else would he be?
Where's Chris reporting the weather?
North Carolina.
That's what I mean. Like, what the fuck? Like, this also bothers me.
Sure.
Get the fucking dude.
Okay.
Get fucking get the fucking news reporters out in fucking Worcestershire, fucking wherever the fuck, like Scotland or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, why is this a guy from North Carolina? It's so disturbing to me that, like, and they're gonna fucking tour here too, Sam. And that's what fucking that bothers me too.
Sure.
Where it's
Why
like,
wouldn't it?
Hey, everybody, let's fucking gather in worship in like, all of these things don't sit right with me.
Speaking of Sleep Token, Emergence has overtaken the Emptiness Machine by Linkin Park to become the #1 song in the Billboard Hot Hard Rock Songs chart. The band have also sold out the entirety of their upcoming North American headlining tour. And to top it off, they've officially hit 6 million monthly listeners on Spotify, gaining 2 million monthly listeners since the release of Emergence.
The craziest part about all of this
Is what?
is that the 2 million fucking monthly listeners this band has amassed is light work for them. I'm telling you, it's 10 million within a month.
Yeah, you know, that's what I was thinking to myself as well, because like at this point you've released one song, you've gained 2 million followers. Let's say you don't release another new song for like a week and a half, right?
This is crazy to me because apparently we're getting one soon.
Theoretically, yes. So it's like, okay, like now we're growing. Now you're right. We're just shy of 10. We dropped the full album. What are we thinking? Like 55, 60 by the end of the year?
Oh, that's it? That's
what I mean.
That's a low ball estimate, I feel like.
They're going to end up with the same amount of monthly listeners as fucking Linkin Park, which would be absolutely insane.
This song is going to overtake the Emptiness Machine somehow.
I mean, it did currently.
No. I mean, like, literally release to date total streams. It's on the fast track.
It's got a little bit of work to do. So the Emptiness Machine, fun fact, is at about 490 million streams on Spotify, which is terribly impressive. And Emergence is around the 21 to 22 range as we record this.
It's only been like a week.
2 weeks, actually, but yes,
it's still barely 2 weeks.
Impressive. It's only been barely, it's been a week and a quarter.
Completely related, but a side note, general feelings on Emergence 2 weeks later?
Still fucking love it. Absolutely fucking adore it. I can't get over that song. I think it's one of my favorite songs released so far this year. And ultimately, it's just been no surprises with Sleep Token for a band that's been full of surprises. You know what I mean?
All this track for me has done is grow on me over the past 2 weeks. Like more and more and more. Like I liked it when it came out. I'm like, now I'm actively, consistently seeking it out like each day at some point in my day and like knocking out a quick like 5 listens in a row.
I don't know how you feel about this, but I think I could be quite satiated if we got only maybe 1 or 2 more new singles before the album. I don't need the 5 to 6 like we got before Take Me Back to Eden. I would actually gladly save all those new songs.
Even in Arcadia, I believe, is supposed to be like a lighter track listing too, so we definitely better not get that many singles. But if this band's not satiated with having a #1 spot and they also already want to go out and throw out a new track, then who knows? I think everything's in the cards at that point.
I guess it begs the question exactly how RCA is approaching the rollout of these songs, you know, how much influence they have on it, what they want to do. Sleep Token's already changed it up from their wildly successful marketing campaign from Take Me Back to Eden, where they were dropping like 2 songs a week. So clearly they're trying to try something else out here.
I mean, they ended that album cycle by not doing like the rollout of that album by not doing that. Like by the time we got DWLTY fucking WRAL, they don't like it was like the one track and that was it.
I do understand that, but like they started off with like back-to-back singles and then a few weeks later back-to-back singles,
sure.
right? So like obviously they've already broken from that norm with this rollout.
What if they just drop the album on 3/29?
It's a fun idea. I certainly don't think it's going to happen, but it is a fun idea. Marcos, also, Forgotten by the Plot in You has entered the Billboard Hot Hard Rock Songs chart for the first time since its release in August of 2023. It comes in at number 24. How neat is that?
It's crazy that it's for the first time. I feel like that song upon release did okay. but apparently not as well as it is doing now. Real interesting. So this band, I believe, just wrapped a tour, a headliner across the states.
Yeah, but I believe they're jumping on another one right now, and I think it might be Europe, UK. Currents is like their direct support.
Yeah. Well, so I mentioned all this, and I also wanted to add that is this alongside any other Plot and You songs? Because
No, this was the only one
Feel
that entered the
Nothing
chart.
still like just kind of okay. So it's gone.
In terms of the top 25, yes, this is the only Plot and You song that is on that list.
Because this is not the Plot and You song as far as like virality or success is concerned.
Well, you say that, but I suppose the question here is if it's slowly becoming the next
It's interesting.
Plot and You
Right,
song, right? Given the fact that it came out in August of 2023 and is now entering the Billboard charts in March of 2025 is actually quite impressive. So you have to think,
If I'm the Plot and You, I'm pissed as hell.
why that all their songs
none of
chart
my
like 2 years
songs-
after they come out?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
One of their other songs could have entered the chart at some point during the release of like their last like 7 singles. Like Pretend maybe popped up on there and I just didn't notice or whatever. I think this one stood out to me in particular just because of when it was released versus when it first entered the chart. It was like, what's the delay? Like, is this having a viral moment and we're just completely unaware of it? It seems that way, right?
Well, that's why I tried to loop in like the idea that they had like the North American tour. Like, is that something that propel? Like, I don't.
I mean, it could certainly
Right.
help, but like, I mean, do we see that happen a lot with bands? My guess is there's some other factor here that we're not considering.
Maybe
Whether
that's like the only song they posted on
radio's not
socials to
picking up
promote.
Forgotten, right? Too heavy.
I mean, I would think, yeah.
Like maybe Octane takes a look at that song and says like, I think we can make it work, but like everybody else is not looking at that
I think
song and doing
Octane
anything,
does,
right?
yeah.
The fact that it entered hard rock is actually quite impressive, right? But I guess there's no metal chart for it to be on anyways. Unfortunately. Travis Barker states in a new interview with Reverb that MGK's song My Ex's Best Friend featuring Black Bear almost didn't make the album. It's gone on to be streamed 700 million times on Spotify alone. Travis Barker says in that same interview, he's like, I pulled MGK aside and I was like, my guy, we got to make this song work because it's a fucking hit. And like, I'm reading all this, or I'm listening to this interview and I'm like, you know what? I don't think still to this date, we give Travis Barker enough credit for how much of a fucking magician he is as a producer. Like what he's done with like MGK and like Blink-182 in particular is just deeply impressive.
Totally.
He's given both of those artists like a second wind to their career, which isn't to say that either of them were down and out, but they certainly have like a newfound life.
Listen, I'm going home and I'm praying, I'm thanking God for Travis Barker.
Mm-hmm.
If this song had never been released, I'd have been
Had never been released?
I'd have been pretty sad. Not knowing it had never been like, like I wouldn't have known, but like I think the world is a better place that this song was released, that it was popular. It also went on to, it feels like, start what is a staple in MGK albums where it has the one big song with a Black Bear feature, because you would then get it on the next album.
Curious to see if we get another Black Bear feature in the future. I don't remember seeing his name anywhere on that last track we got just last week.
Black Bear's been very quiet lately.
He has been, at least as a musician. I feel like I've seen some stories about him in terms of like pop culture and stuff like that, and like who he's dating or whatever. But
I believe he
it
had
wasn't
like
anything I was very like in tune with.
I think he had like a fairly major surgery related to like maybe like his liver or something like that.
Sounds very familiar too.
So I think he's been sidelined because of that.
Yeah, this is a weird side tangent, but I would also be thrilled to get new music from Black Bear now that you mention it.
Well, so we talk about it like the last year he released an album was the last year MGK released an album, which is at this point a long time ago. Like that was
so you're saying we're lining
22?
up. 22, yes.
Yeah.
So continuing on with Travis Barker, he just wrapped up production work on the newest album from Yellow Card. And he's set to work with Sublime on their first album since 1996. For those unaware, Sublime's current vocalist is Jacob Noel, son of original vocalist Bradley, who tragically passed away that same year. Yellow Card and Travis Barker could be big, by the way.
I need some help over here. Right. So
that could be that same revitalization that he gave Blink.
Are Yellow Card working with producers they've never worked with before? Like this is a new like marriage, right? Him and
yes,
them
I
and
don't
Travis
think
Barker.
Yellow Card ever worked with Travis Barker before. It certainly didn't make the news last time around.
This is neat.
Sublime hasn't worked with fucking anybody since their
There
last
could
album.
be something here. Sublime is
curious, right?
Famous for being sublime with Jacob? Like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, right? So they were sublime with Rome for a little bit, right? But apparently Rome is no longer with the project.
Well,
and
my question was, that band never
happened to
put
Rome?
out material with Rome ever?
it's I'm not gonna lie, Marcus. You've asked me an interesting question about an artist that I do not follow very closely. So I'm gonna do a quick overview here.
Or is this like, is this them saying Sublime with Rome is done? We may have put out. No, let me finish my thought here. We're like,
Sublime with Rome.
They did put out albums. They were called Sublime with Rome. Then.
Right. So that's where we're at. You are correct here. So
and
Sublime.
This is fucking Jacob officially picking up the torch.
Let me fill in the blanks here, please. Right. Sublime with Rome was a band that began as a musical collaboration between former Sublime members Eric Wilson and Bud Gott and singer and guitarist Rome Ramirez. So yes, this was considered a separate project. They did release albums.
No idea.
In May 2019, the new trio released their first album together and the third for Sublime with Rome, right?
Interesting.
So on and so forth. Members leave, blah, 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 blah. In March 2024, the band officially announced its farewell tour dates.
What?
So they're like, finish, I guess.
So did Sublime OG recently announce their return dates? Is that like a thing that happened then?
I think this might be it. I think this might be the announcement. Hey, everybody, Sublime is back.
I think this is really cool as far as like...
I like legacy, like passing on a legacy kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is like, this is like the just sheer like luck that
you got a boy who can sing.
You got a boy who could sing. Like, this is out of a fucking movie. Like, this is this to me means like 15 years from now we are watching a Sublime movie. Like, Bradley passes, and then what? 28 years later, his son backfills him of it. Like, that's insane.
I think there's like real opportunities here to kind of like maybe find some level of continuity, whether it's like through lyrics or individual songs, or even like aesthetically with music videos that kind of have this aura of passing off a torch. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see how that all culminates. I'm just very interested in like what a modern day Sublime would sound like and what exactly Travis Barker would do with them. Sublime, I feel like, are one of these bands where it's like their legacy is so cemented that the idea of them even coming back is so fascinating. But, you know, a lot of people felt the same way about Linkin Park, and now many of us are quite thrilled that they are back.
Totally.
Sad Summerfest will not be happening this year. The official statement from the Sad Summer account. When Sad Summer began, our goal was to make it through one summer and do something special for the fans at a time when our scene needed us. So this was like right after Warped Tour ended. So I feel like that's the context here.
Yeah. And then 5 of 7 years, or we're just getting to that. Never mind. Continue on.
Yet here we are nearly 7 years later with 5 amazing tours under our belt. COVID years, of course.
COVID years.
And watching the artists, they only did it during COVID years.
Right.
They were like, they pushed back on the whole
They
thing.
ran it back. They were doing 2 simultaneously.
It was
the
an
same
anti-vaccine tour specifically. They continue on, and watching the artists we love thrive all over the globe in new places we never thought possible when we started this thing. With that said, we have decided to take 2025 off and finally catch our breath. However, we have already begun discussion for what is next, and we cannot wait to resurface when the time is right. Until then, please go out and support all of your favorite artists on tours and festivals this summer, and let's keep the flame burning together. Marcus, past headliners for Sad Summerfest include Water Parks, the main Mayday Parade, Neck Deep, Taking Back Sunday, and All Time Low. Thoughts?
And all of them were clearly busy, because the whole thing with Sad Summerfest is these 5 bands have been essentially trading off headlining spots for the past existence of Sad Summerfest.
Sad Summerfest seemed to have some staples to the festival, though you could argue that Warped Tour was very similar in that nature, right? Like, bands would constantly trade off with that. They'd play one year, take a year off, come back the following year, over and over and over again.
Well, that Sad Summer has always felt very, like, the DNA was very Warped-like. Mm-hmm. I also think that you factor in the Warped Tour officially coming back this year.
I think if Warped Tour was coming back in a full capacity where it was a summer tour, then I could understand something like Sad Summerfest being absolutely buried. But Warped Tour came back as 3 festival dates, so I don't really see how that would end Sad Summer. It does really honestly feel like the main said no, Mayday Parade said no, Neck Deep said no, water parks are on a soft hiatus, and Taking Back Sunday probably did not do the type of amazing numbers I would hope for, but then again, they are co-headlining with Coheed and Cambria, so maybe they also have better offers.
And then what? Everyone else just didn't want to do it? Like, I think you also have to factor
weird,
in
right? Why not bring
the
it
Summer
back?
School Fest as well.
Yeah, but that feels significantly smaller to some degree. I mean, the whole point of Summer School, which...
But that eats up maybe all your openers, right?
We're going to talk about Summer School next week, but that lineup has practically been confirmed at this point with Beauty School Dropout, Charlotte Sands, Arrows in Actions. If not for me, all teasing that they're essentially going to be playing it. Rain City Drive.
Insane lineup, though.
Yeah, it's a really fun lineup. But again, smaller bands. Like, I don't see the Main on there. I don't see Neck Deep on there. I don't see Water Parks on there, right? So, like, by its nature, Summer School was 6 artists who all play similar sets with the same length, because they're all similar levels of popularity. All of that being said, Marcos, do you feel like a little bit more context would have been nice here? I know they don't owe us anything, but...
I'm going to... Listen, I'm going to give you some pointers here on how to be a real podcast host, Sam. It's about Sad Summerfest, right? This topic.
Yes.
Ask me if I'm any sadder that Sad Summerfest won't be happening this year.
None of these lineups ever fully clicked for us. I understand that.
They sucked.
This felt...
I mean, they didn't suck, but like...
Sucks is...
They were pretty good, actually, sometimes.
Yeah, they were pretty good. This feels like an extension of Warped Tour. It feels like one of the appendages of Warped Tour cut off. It just wasn't the appendage that you and I most wanted. You and I were more Metal School Dropout than we were Sad Summer or Summer School, right?
Yeah, this is... I don't know. I have mixed feelings here because we never attended a Sad Summer, and it always just looked a little disjointed from the outside looking in. So like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of sad it's not back, but there's so much it feels like that is currently filling the void, I guess, if you want to call it that, that they're leaving, that it's like, it's not even like, it doesn't even feel like they're not happening this year.
Yeah, Sad Summer never felt like it had such a strong identity that like it's that relevant, so that even if a tour got announced today that was the Main and Neck Deep co-headlining, it wouldn't just ostensibly feel like Sad Summer anyways.
What are those bands doing? Do they have those tours announced? Like, what is lined up? Like, could this, were they really going
like I
for
said,
like...
Water Parks is on a little bit of a soft
They had
hiatus.
a Godfather offer on the table for the story so far, and then fucking, what, Parker Cannon wanted to go out and get married. Like, is that maybe what happened?
Parker Cannon is engaged. That is correct. But then there's also been stuff going around that the story so far might actually be in the studio recording right now. So
this is too small for a day to remember.
Well, I mean, I suppose that A Day to Remember does not need the branding that Sad Summer provides.
They don't.
But there could be some level of synergy here that, like, everybody wins. I guess just it never came together.
I guess so.
You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, it could be like, hey, A Day to Remember, we'll let you, like, fucking slap your name all over this, but, like, let us put a little bit of our flavor text in the corner of all your announcements so people develop, like, a healthy relationship with our brand. Whatever. Again, absolutely zero context is provided here, so all we can do is speculate and move on. Bad Omens are currently in the recording studio.
So, if you all...
That's the whole story.
If you all could go back in time to 2022 when this band last released an album...
Sure.
That wasn't a... what do we call it? An OST? Then yes, this tracks. They probably should be in the studio. So this is all good news.
One of the craziest things that I've been saying is that, like, oh, finally, Bad Omens are actually going to put out new music. And every time I read something like that, it's like I start like grinding my teeth a little bit. I'm like, finally, the band that put out a deluxe version of their album last year with like 3 new songs and like 27 remixes is finally making music again.
And there was some really cool...
Man, we've really lost any level of patience for these artists.
We really have, man.
Like, we're 4 weeks away from people being like, damn, Spirit Box get lazy, or is it just me?
I mean, everyone even like foaming at the mouth already for another Sleep Token single is like, okay, well, I know we're all looking forward to that album, but like, I personally... could do like another month of just Emergence. Like, what are we talking about?
But at least we're in the midst of a rollout. You know what I mean? It would be insane if people were sitting here today being like, man, Wish Memphis May Fire would get back in the studio already. You know what I mean? Where's the Day to Remember big album fucking number 2?
That's a great point.
No,
it's already
not
been like a week.
Point. My fucking point is that we are being just a tad bit unreasonable in our demands with bands lately. But I suppose that's been the case for all of eternity.
Right. It's current day attention span.
They announced they
bullshit.
were in the studio by not announcing it, but just posting pictures of them in their brand new merch that dropped today.
How do you know that wasn't just the setting they wished to whatever. Like,
it would actually be a very fucking funny joke if they did all of their merch photo shoots behind a recording booth. In between launching these brand new designs, we took a walk in the recording studio to do absolutely nothing.
Now,
fuck all of you.
The funny thing here is that people are assuming this is probably for like another album.
Who's
guess.
assuming?
But
reasonably assuming.
It's also already been like a month since the last time they collaborated with Slipknot and Corey Taylor. So like that's probably what they're doing here. Isn't just
this
that
was
again.
Fucking Corey Taylor, right? You know what's so fucking funny is that I forgot that came out. So theoretically, we have gotten another new thing from Bad Omens within the last 1 month time frame.
I forget what the song was.
It was fucking Dust in the Wind, bro.
Dust in the Wind.
Moving on.
The Spotlight.
Every week, we, alongside our listeners, will help shine some light on smaller bands within the scene. This week, I bring to everyone 2 bands. First, Indecent Behavior and their newest single, Shoot.
I'm only here for my plan. It fucking kills me. It doesn't matter if I'm ready or not. My plan. It fucking kills me. You try to shoot me. You're my ghost.
Self-described as heavy pop punk from Saarbrücken, Germany. You can follow the band at Indecent Behavior Official on Instagram. I've been singing the chorus of this bad boy, Saarbrücken, for quite some time, and I think everyone should go check this out. I had a lot of fun with this song.
I back all that.
And also, everyone should go check out the track Forever Young by the band Set the Lights. This is a 2-piece project which features members from Calexico, California, and Tijuana, Mexico, and they specialize in edgy pop punk and soul-bearing ballads. You can follow the band at Set the Lights on Instagram. This band's got a certain level of nostalgia flavor to them, where I feel like they could have come out anywhere between like the years 2005 and 2008 and fit right in with that whole bunch of like pure volume one-hit wonders, and I think this band deserves better than that, and everyone should go check them out.
This is like, to me, like some SoundCloud emo, but not like the emo rapper side of it, but like just an emo band that didn't know where else to post their music. Like, you're right, like Pure Volume or whatever, like it was dead. So like
they feel like a well-kept secret.
One of the members are from where in California?
I don't know exactly how to pronounce this. Calexico?
Is that
Celico?
Is that one of the best fucking town names you've ever seen in your life?
Sounds cool
it's
as
spelled
hell.
Celexico. So like that's
Sounds cool as hell.
fucking fire to me.
Yeah, that almost could have worked as a cool band name, to be honest. Dated discourse this week. Yelling out song names while bands are performing. Cringe or not cringe? Twitter user Celeste Tadpole posted the following this last week. Quote, "Chat, how do we feel about people in the crowd yelling out the names of songs they want to hear during quiet moments of a set? Doesn't that feel rude and demanding? Like, there's a set list? Brother, I don't know, maybe I'm completely off base here, but I cringe every time." Marcos, before we discuss...
Mon, the word you are looking for is not rude or demanding. It is problematic.
Problematic?
It's problematic.
How is it problematic?
How isn't it?
You're saying we need to have a serious discussion about people yelling out song names during a band's performance?
We have to have a serious
and we need to
conversation.
actually start reprimanding them live and in person?
So this is I know you were going to take this in another
What
direction.
I was going
maybe.
to say is before we discuss some of the feedback she got from her tweet, Marcos, what are your thoughts?
My initial reaction, Sam,
Yes.
thank you. So this is one of those things where like, maybe I don't have the strongest feelings, but having attended shows
First
for
time
what
in history you don't have strong feelings
fucking
about
20 years at this point, like I thought that there were just some things we could never have a say in. So my brain never thought to question them.
You know, for what it's worth, I don't know that Celeste Tadpole here thinks that they're going to be able to make the change they want to see in the world.
Like people have been doing this since like forever, it shows. I didn't think we could beat it out of them.
It's more of an observation, I think. Like, hey, isn't this annoying? And generally, I
don't
agree.
disagree.
But, you know, for the most part, I kind of find everything people do at shows to be mostly kind of annoying.
The cut from like a similar cloth, one of the rudest, more demanding instances of this was I remember seeing Architects. It was like their first headlining show in North America following Tom's passing, and someone just kept saying, say something about Tom.
Oh my God. I remember
From like
this too.
the moment
Holy
that the
shit.
set started all the way until like 40 minutes in, when the band had been like acknowledging that and having, you know, things to say about Tom. Like it was documented. I feel like that it was a specific point in the set when they would do this.
Mm-hmm.
And this just dumbass behind us every single moment of silence being like, Tom, say something about Tom.
Like final boss levels of main character syndrome, absolutely.
Just the-
where it's
just
like you're
drunk
using a
idiot behavior
tragedy to
too.
be like the center of attention. Yeah.
And like it bothered me so much that I still remember it to this day, obviously. And that's the first thing that jumps to mind. But like, man, I don't know. Like I do think
I
it
feel like
kind
what
of
you're
sucks.
saying is that if he yelled nihilist all night, that would have been quite as bad. So like by virtue of
Right.
comparison, it could be worse. It could be worse.
But like it's just one of those things where like I didn't think I was allowed to question this or like really have strong feelings about it, because I never expected anything like this could
People
ever change.
had strong feelings about this, Marcus. Twitter users chimed in. Summer Brews, the band said, it's flattering, but also makes me feel bad because 99 out of 100 times we've barely practiced the planned set, and at least one person on stage has never played the song you're shouting out.
Touching on something that's where my mind goes next is most of the time requesting the song that is very clearly the encore. Like that's the other side of that coin.
Somebody else gets to this, but yes.
Right.
The song you know that is going to be played that like, yeah.
Or-
My Chemical Romance, play Elena.
Alternatively here, like just like whatever track 4 off of EP1 that the band hasn't played a track of in like 10 years. Like this is not that tour, brother. You are not getting that song.
100%. You know what's something else that's deeply funny though is that like when I was very young and like first going to shows, I was always under the impression that
You were that guy?
no, that the set list could be anything that night and you would never know what the band was going to play, and they knew every single one of the songs in their catalog.
I think it would illustrate more raw talent than RC has.
Sure, but like it's funny to me that I was ever under this impression, you know what I mean? That you could yell a song at a band and they would be like, you know what?
I don't know, Sam. I still feel
Fuck
this
it.
way.
Let's play Cobwebs tonight.
I don't know. I feel like if you just released an album, you should be able to play any song off of it and the album that came before it.
You say that, but these bands write albums 2 years before they've come out. So it's like, do you retain?
So they got 2 years of fucking practice.
Do you retain? Marcos, Scarlet Street said, maybe this is us being up our own ass, but we put a lot of thought into which songs go where, etc. We're playing the songs we are because we're really into them. You don't want to see us playing a song we're not feeling that night. It would be a bummer for everyone. Marcos, I love the idea of a band dejectedly playing one of their songs that night because it was requested.
I mean, this is a great comment too, because what people also have to consider is like, I don't know, read the room. Like, would that song actually even fit in the set list? Like, are you requesting the really slow song or the really fast song for like what is not
Ultimately,
that
they're
kind
just
of night?
requesting what they want to hear, right? The crowd be
Yeah,
damned,
sure.
the band be damned. I'm here and I want the
It's
band to
main
play
character
my
energy, right,
song.
right.
Yes, precisely. Marcus Equipment commented, please don't do this. Unless I secretly want to play that song, then absolutely do it. So Marcus, is a little bit of a It's a curveball.
We
here.
can't do this mixed signals thing equipment.
It's a curveball. You know what I mean?
Also,
so it's
what-
like if you say the right song, it's actually okay. You just got to figure out what song that is.
Ohio fucking crazy with these band names, by the way. Fucking that was the last band, Scarlet something or another.
That would be Scarlet Street.
And now we have equipment.
We're just gonna
Summer
assume,
Brews
we're
is
gonna
probably from
assume
Ohio.
Summer Brews is from Ohio. Just for the sake
Ohio
of the
always
bit.
got
Yeah.
so much to fucking say, bro.
They've been running their mouth nonstop, Marco. Sarah said over on Twitter, I absolutely hate this. Always makes me cringe. And out of all the shows I've been to, I've seen it work like 3 times. Now, this is crazy. I
Even
didn't know
the
this
3
has
times.
worked before.
Even the 3 times it has worked, I feel like it's staged.
I mean, theoretically,
Like didn't
it was already on the set list and was going to be played regardless, is what you're saying?
kinda. Didn't Fall Out Boy do this though? Like that was the whole thing with the last tour.
Well, they've been doing like the 8-ball,
we're
right?
gonna
With,
ask the
like
Magic
random
8-Ball.
songs.
Right.
Yeah, but those are pre-planned too. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Let's not be children about this. Fall Out Boy knew what the fuck they were playing that night, right? It wasn't just like it could have been any song on their discography, right?
But that's how they sold it.
Oh shit, we're playing 2 songs out of an evening out with my girlfriend. What are the
Right.
chances?
What?
Like, no. Marcus Ozzy says, when I saw Mariana's Trench last year, it was like literally impossible for them to talk to the audience because people wouldn't stop doing this, laughing my ass off. Like there's a line between doing it once or twice and doing it every single fucking break.
This is where if I'm a band,
Yeah.
this is how I use my like platform for evil.
Mm-hmm.
I tell security any of that shit, flashing lasers directly in that person's eyes.
Oh, I thought you were going to have them dragged out maybe, which would be an aggressive stance to take on the matter.
No, like kill them with like just the atmosphere and like, you know, point the fog machine closer to their face or something like that sort of stuff. Like shine a flashlight. In
I
their
like my
eyes.
idea better where they just look at security and they're like, and then they go over there and they drag his ass out.
We should alternatively have a timeout section in venues.
Ooh, I love a penalty box, actually. That
penalty
is a fun
box.
idea. Yes, you get the flag thrown at you, you get dragged in the penalty box.
And I think it's a
You're going
really
to spend the whole song in there.
and it's a really healthy thing too, because like a penalty box would mean like, you know, it was bad sportsmanship, but like, you know, slap on the ass, get back out there, you know, like
We would honestly
you let
need
out your aggression, you fucking punched a guy left to right, whatever.
If I'm reffing that night, we need a penalty room. You know what I mean? I'm dragging people in left and right. I'm throwing flags like crazy. I've got like a flag, like gun, like I'm shooting t-shirts out of the crowd.
Sam, and I might spawn it from this discussion right now. I think the
Sure.
next big trend that we see will not be, you know, more bananas, more Spider-Man and Deadpool. Someone at some point out there with main character energy,
Yeah.
and that is a bad thing. I just want to be clear of that. It's not a good thing to have main character energy. Will start wearing the ref uniform to shows,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna be in that mosh pit annoying everyone.
You imagine you're windmilling and somebody blows a whistle on you?
The funniest thing about possibly bringing a whistle into a venue is
Yeah.
it can get so loud that you could probably still hear it over the show.
And you shouldn't be ignoring it either. Like if that whistle gets blown and you ignore it, that's like a red flag.
We're
You know
gonna
what I mean?
start
You get ejected
seeing
from the venue.
signs in venues: no moshing, no diving, and no fucking whistling.
This should actually be the highest tier of every VIP from a band. Is you get to be the ref at the show that night. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, you pay $400, you're reffing this night.
I just kind of need to see it in action. I do need to see like the general energy of the night at that point.
This is like when they're like, man, should we measure whether the baseball is actually in field based on like using like computer technology instead of actually like
Right,
trusting
right.
like refs and stuff like that? Like, yeah, we need to try it to understand if it works, right?
Sure.
Like we could be onto something here. Michelle says, one time at a Watsky concert, he literally just said, quote, if you guys want me to perform some of my earlier songs, first person to hand me their phone with the lyrics already pulled up chooses what song, end quote. This is a fun idea too. I don't hate this.
It is a little funny. Watsky is a crazy fun. In 2025,
That's a wild
talking
poll,
about
right?
Watsky is nuts.
Wild pull. Alexa says, to add my 2 cents, many artists literally can't do this when you consider things like light and sound production, ensuring every member remembers how to play that song in venue
I
curfews.
hate you motherfuckers, bro.
They're so right,
It's the
though.
nerdiest fucking response.
No, they're so right though, because bands have like so much of their set is like pre-planned into like the fucking MacBook that they can't deviate for. They can't even like speak longer than the like 30-second interval they've given themselves. Otherwise, the music's gonna start playing behind them,
Right.
and like the fucking music video is gonna flash on the screen. You can't deviate. Jackie Daytona says, definitely feels rude. I think a smaller band would appreciate it more because they're just surprised anyone knows their music. But for the most part, I think it's a bit disrespectful. I appreciate
disrespectful.
this take.
This
no,
is disrespectful.
I appreciate this take. I think a band would love it if their songs were just shouted out like that. You know what I mean? Like, let's say your whole discography is like one album and you're like the opener on a tour. People knowing your shit is probably a good feeling.
Nah, I feel like if I'm in a smaller band, that is when my ego is at its largest.
Ooh,
Like you're saying,
really?
Like, this is disrespectful to me. Like, reading that anyone would be like, I'm surprised that anyone would know. No. I've played this venue 14 fucking weeks in a row.
Sure.
Opening for different headliners.
Completely opposite take here. Huh?
Everyone should know these songs.
Marcus, finally, and I pulled this comment, though it's slightly irrelevant, but I thought it was deeply funny. Kill Gosling says, I haven't cared about music for real for at least a year, maybe 2. So I'm cool with it.
Get a third host on this show. I need him here now.
I could give a fuck about music, so yeah, do whatever you want.
I love bro, they don't give a fuck about music so much that like they also need to put that input in to the point where it's like, it's a pretty interesting like observation. I don't really fuck with music though.
This is honestly like 88% of Twitter, which is like,
Oh,
I
it is.
have no horse in this race, but I do have a hot take.
I posted about Dayseeker for something like whatever on Twitter, and like the first quote is like, honestly guys, I don't even like Dayseeker. Who has a gun to your head? I'm over here like celebrating an artist, and you like immediately the first thing that you have to do is be like, what are we even talking about? Dayseeker? Question mark?
Yeah, this is me whenever I post about Sleep Token, honestly. The first 25 comments are like, who listens to this massively successful band you're posting about? Marcos, I just want to finally end this segment by saying, Kill Gosling, we love you, and we hope you're okay, and we hope you someday like music again. Linkin Park have released a new single, Up From the Bottom.
Me waiting down here, so far below, staring up from the bottom, up from the bottom.
From Zero Deluxe Edition releases May 16th. It will feature an additional 2 new songs, Unshatter and Let You Fade, alongside 5 live performance tracks of songs from the original From Zero track listing. Marcus, you and I reacted to this. It's over on our YouTube channel now. Go watch it. We hope you enjoy it. But how did you feel about the song overall, and are you excited for the deluxe edition of this album?
Real quick, talk about making up for lost time as far as like, man,
Hell
we,
yeah.
we weren't able to talk about Linkin Park for a long time on this show, and they were aware of that and have been not specifically about us. I'm saying like, this is a broad thing.
You really made character this whole thing, didn't you? You've committed the first sin.
Well, we were the ones asking for them to come back the loudest, so there's
Sure,
that.
you're right. We actually are the main characters in this situation.
We came closest to guessing who the vocalist would be.
What'd you think about this? But yes, it is very exciting that like we are regularly
Right.
getting quote content from Linkin Park.
Don't
again.
call it. Don't do that.
Not to Linkin Park.
Dude, the fucking Content Kings Linkin Park are at it again.
God, we really should do all our reaction videos like that. Marcos, please, did you like the song?
I hated it.
Well, that
Imagine.
would be
Imagine.
insane. I mean, theoretically, it's possible, right? We've certainly had hot takes on this show before.
There's been Linkin Parks I've disliked in the past. This one ain't one of them. This is a really solid track. I think it's up there with the best of them off of this record. Really great to finally have a From Zero Deluxe announced, because it felt like one of the most like sure things ever.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of us kind of
the current landscape,
felt like, sure, based on like how the music industry has been conducting itself, this was inevitable. Here is your opportunity to double down on more vinyl sales. Why not?
Sure. I'll mention with this, I kind of like the artwork better for the deluxe.
I do. It's just more vibrant.
Yeah.
I think it pops more. I really do feel that way. I'm not going to lie. My finger was hovering over that buy button, even though I've already have the From
What
Zero
variant?
vinyl. There's one that was like a purple red splatter that actually was really speaking to me. I think it was called like Blood Orchard or something. You know how vinyls like coloring all have like the dumbest names ever? This was one of them, but it looked insanely cool.
They really take like the same liberties that a paint company does, as far as like, you know, this one's called, you like green? We don't really do that
Yeah,
here.
This is turtle shell.
This is more of a, right, emerald moss ice cream.
Yeah,
Like,
precisely.
right.
That is quite honestly probably a vinyl variant.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I thought that looked cool. Love the artwork for this. They also released a fucking skate deck that looks sick as hell. I don't have any
a
skate
little
decks.
of my attention.
That's not true. I randomly have a yellow card one that
You
I
own
found
a
at a
yellow
flea market
card
one. But do I have like one of these really cool fancy new ones that hasn't actually been written on before? No.
I'm not gonna just accept this, Sam. You're a bit of a pathological liar.
What do you mean? In what capacity?
Like you said with a straight face, you don't own a fucking skate deck, and then
yeah, but I
you had
corrected
to
myself
run it back
almost
immediately.
immediately. Almost immediately, I corrected
I don't
myself.
think that's not a sign of a good person.
You know, I'm forgetful. We started off prior to recording with you asking me if I owned the following like 7 vinyls, and I honestly could not tell you. I was like, maybe. Who can say for sure? Like, I don't know. I probably bought them, but I don't, unless I find them right now, I can't say. I thought the music video for this was really cool. I thought it was filmed quite well, and I thought like a lot of the band performance scenes really popped. Just the way that like the lights were constantly flashing and the camera was moving, and like the way that like the individual band members move, it was just like, it was very kinetic. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, kinetic is what I would apply to this whole era of the band at the moment. Like this picks up right where they left off. I cannot stress that enough. All of this feels exactly cut from the cloth that is From Zero. Like it all makes sense as far as like the video and the song that we got following up that album, leading off this deluxe era of the band. That's so stupid to say out loud.
But it is insane that we
Right.
are now in like a regular cadence from Linkin Park, a band that like for so long, for incredibly obvious reasons, was just not around, that they are now just part of like a regular release cycle is just something I will
And
never
they've been
take
great.
for granted. Yeah.
They've been great.
Yeah. Mark, the band shared the following on the each
They're
new
also
song.
on Fortnite, Sam.
They're also in Fortnite. That's a separate bullet point. The band shared the following on each new song. Quote, Up From the Bottom was created in between tours this year, infused with the electricity of those first shows back after a long hiatus. Let You Fade was a song that began during From Zero sessions, but found its final shape in sessions after the album's release. And Unshatter was an early track we made while recording From Zero. Emily's huge vocal in the bridge was one of the moments that gave us an indication of what was possible together, Marcus. That is easily, for me, the song I'm most excited to hear, given that it's one of the ones that seemingly sold the band on Emily as being the new vocalist for Linkin Park.
That's really cool. Definitely interested in that, Sam. The first thing I want to touch on here, though, is, or what I want to touch on here, rather, is the idea that this was created in between tours this year. I think they're just lumping in 2024 at that point.
Yes.
This calendar, or not this calendar year,
Fiscal.
but these past whatever, since this band's been back.
Yeah.
No shit. Because, like, you guys did one date in, like, France, and then you had 40 days off, and then you went and played in Texas. 40 more days off. You went and played in Korea.
I understand. You're right. It's not like this was written on the tour bus between the drive. From,
Y'all were going home in between fucking shows.
It's not like they were like, oh, let's go to Kansas, to Tennessee, to West Virginia. You're right.
Right.
It was like, let's go from Kansas to the studio for 40 days, back to Tennessee. As you mentioned earlier, the band did have some songs added to Fortnite, as well as some instruments.
Get me
and
off this show.
there is now an In the End emote, which was circulating on Twitter and actually looks really neat. The band are currently in the midst of the From Zero World Tour with upcoming dates in Las Vegas, Austin, Tulsa, and more. Linkin Park currently stand at 46 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Evanescence have premiered new single Afterlife.
See you in the afterlife. Save me from this bed.
The song was written for the upcoming animated series Devil May Cry, which comes to Netflix on April 3rd. That would be the Friday that you're listening to this episode. Marcus, you and I also reacted to this. Hopefully it's also up on our YouTube for you to go watch right now, but if not, it's coming soon. What did you think of this new song? Are you excited for the Devil May Cry anime? Do you fuck with Evanescence? And have you resubscribed to Netflix? All in one. All those questions.
I don't like that you asked me if I fuck with Evanescence in the same way that Lil Dicky asks in that one song if I fuck with The War.
Do you fuck with the war?
Right? Do you fuck with Evanescence? I fuck with Evanescence. TBH. Heavy, to be honest. I know all of the 5 big Evanescence songs, and I really liked Amy Lee's feature on that one Bring Me song.
my
The
God.
only thing left in my chest are butterflies because the only thing that hasn't burst in this world is my chest yet.
It was certainly a mouthful. Yes, we can agree
That
on
was the unabridged fucking song title.
So you're a big Evanescence guy, Marcos. You
Big
have a
Evanescence
Netflix
guy.
subscription, and you are vaguely familiar with Devil May
vaguely
Cry as a
familiar with
concept?
Devil May Cry.
As a video game?
I've probably watched you play it before.
I actually have a PS2 copy tucked away over in the corner there. I should have gotten it there just so I could wave it on the screen.
Don't ever do that again. You pointed at something I can't see.
It's
You pointed. You said it's behind that thing there.
you wouldn't know this, but
You could do that with anything.
there's a secret compartment over there that you haven't seen before where I keep my most prized PlayStation 2 games. And Devil May Cry
I'm
is
telling
one of them.
everyone, Sam's a pathological liar.
I thought the song sounded great. I think Amy Lee in particular has an absolutely phenomenal voice, and I thought it was well utilized in this track. And
Facts.
the lyric video combined with the anime itself actually worked insanely well.
No, it didn't.
You weren't feeling that?
This was a real tacky music video, or real tacky lyric video. There were like some cool moments where like they put like some words into the like
Man, I really disagree
guns.
with this fucking take.
I don't think that the lyric video was that special. I don't think that it was incorporated that as well as it could have been.
Okay, fine.
It felt like more of an afterthought.
Maybe they didn't execute the lyric part as cleanly as I would have liked, but given that it was just sort of surfaced over an anime cutscene,
Like, it wasn't
3-minute
bad.
compilation, ended up working very well for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop short of saying it was bad. Like, it was watchable, but like
It's certainly not bad.
it like we're talking Netflix money, bro. Don't get me started over here.
We're talking Netflix money indeed, Marcos. While admittedly unfamiliar with the game series, Amy Lee says of the show, quote, "I have always loved good anime. Right from the first scene of the show, I knew it was going to be good, creative and thought-provoking, horrific and a beautiful classic," end quote. Quite the sell. Quite the sell there. Also, has Amy Lee done an interview with Crunchyroll? Because I would think that Amy Lee's top 10 animes makes for a really fun article to read on the internet.
It is funny to me that someone like as prolific as Evanescence and Amy Lee could secure the Crunchyroll after the SOTS podcast.
That's a good point. You're right. It's
Like, we beat you to that
it is funny that Crunchyroll first came to us,
instead of Evanescence.
right? Like we were higher up on the
Right.
list. Right. They're like, we'll
It's
get to
flattering,
Evanescence
actually.
eventually, but it's like time's running short. We got to get these SOTS
We
boys
have
while
to
they're
get
hot.
the SOTS boys
We got to get
on.
them while they're hot. You know what's deeply funny is that there is an image, like an infamous image of Evanescence at like an E3 party playing Donkey Kong on the bongos. So like this band does have a level of familiarity with video games. It's unfortunate that Devil May Cry wasn't the game that they were trying out at E3 because it would have been like the perfect point, like connect the dots to finally 6 degrees of Evanescence here.
If I can find like a good quality version of it and it makes sense to, that's just the episode art this week.
Oh my God, that is an absolutely phenomenal point. It should be, and that image should exist. Get to work right now, as a matter of fact.
No.
Pull your phone out. I'll do the rest of the
You
episode
don't
without
fucking
you.
tell me what to do.
Evanescence confirmed they're currently writing a new album in an interview with Odyssey?
Sam,
And that this is the first of many new tracks. The band currently have no timetable for the album's completion, though.
could you possibly guess the last time Evanescence released an album?
It was 4 years ago. I believe it was 2021.
All right, well, that doesn't really help me because I had a question for you.
Well, what was the fucking question?
Which was like,
I'll play dumb.
if it was recently, like we probably would have reviewed it on the show. No, like what stopped us?
I don't know. That's a good question, right? I don't know that Evanescence was as much on my radar in a sense that you and I, maybe only within the last couple of years, really started covering more modern rock bands as opposed to simply bands in the scene, right? And I think a big part of it sort of came with the return of Linkin Park as well.
So,
Even though that's within the last 6 months, not the last 2 years.
I mean, this would have been after Posthuman where we got the Amy Lee feature. This is 2021.
That's a fair point, Marcus. I mean, you're asking me a lot of questions that you could be asking yourself here.
The Bitter Truth 2021 looks like a 12-track album, March 2021. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't have reviewed it as far as like, that's still COVID era. Like we're still fucking at home.
I know,
for the
pull
most
up fucking
part.
Spotify. What episode did we
I'm just
record in March of
saying.
2021? What came out?
I'm just saying, Sam.
What came out?
Enter Shikari?
Was that like 2 weeks after the death of Peace of Mind?
2021. Before
We were
it.
probably reviewing
This
that
is
for a
before
third
it.
time, okay?
This is before.
All right, well, who can say for sure? I was there, but I don't
One
remember.
thing I will tell you,
Yeah.
you can't see it, but
Yeah.
look up the Bitter Truths artwork if
That
you
was
don't
Marcus's
know it.
OnlyFans account he held up. You can't see it.
Look up the Bitter Truths. Sam, look at Kesha's new fucking art for their album
I'm
that
looking
was
at
just
it,
announced called like Period.
Uh-huh.
You're looking at this?
I'm looking at it right now.
So you're looking at it. And now look at
Nobody else can
the
see any of
artwork,
this.
Sam,
Yeah.
for The Bitter Truth by Evanescence.
Sure.
It's a little too close for comfort.
Calm down, bro. I've seen that album artwork from 700 different bands, bro.
It's a little too. This is someone like probably Amy Lee in the artwork here, probably Kesha
I'm gonna tell
in
you
the
one
artwork for
thing.
their album. Don't interrupt.
I'm gonna tell you one thing you don't ever
interrupt.
want to do. No, I am gonna stop you because you are gonna get us in the hot water on a subject that I don't ever want to be a part of, which is criticizing bands with huge stands,
Oh,
with large followings. I'm never poking that bear ever. Do whatever you want. I don't care.
With Kesha Heavy here. Who had the cover?
All right, if we fuck with Kesha
Was
Heavy,
it-
then I'm gonna need you to stop running your mouth.
Was it? Was it What Was Me?
Oh right.
Who had
Was
the Kesha
it What
cover
Was
on
Me?
Punkos?
No, What Was Me? I think had the Katy Perry cover of Saturday Night.
So Punkos.
Who had the TikTok cover?
What it would have been like Punkos Pop Volume 4?
Fuck, this is a really good question.
They don't
Completely
list who it's
unrelated
about.
to the subject we're talking about right now.
They don't list who it's about. All right.
Moving on. Evanescence currently holds 17.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
That's pretty fucking impressive. I'm not
It
going to
is.
lie.
Volumes have returned with new single Sidewinder.
Watch it die right in front of me. Broken wing, what song you sing? No miracles for the suffering. One more time, kill the Sidewinder.
This marks the band's first new music since 2021 full-length album Happier and its subsequent instrumental version, and then one fucking cover that they did in 2022 of a Pantera song. What'd you think of this? What'd you think of the return of Volumes?
I'm happy. I don't even think I could have been happier with this return.
And you're hard to please.
I'm hard to please. A lot of evidence on this here show about that. This delivered on all fronts for me. I think that it's definitely the punch in the mouth return that we needed from Volumes. Like right away, I realized that it is it's we're partying, but it's all business, right?
This
You
is
know, like, this
establishing
is-
precedent moving forward.
Yeah. And it's a good precedent. Like this is tough. This is what I would call this. Tough.
You said literally 10 seconds into the song, you turned to me and said, "This is tough."
I said that. I know.
And you were right. This is tough as hell. This fucking rips. Volumes came back pissed.
They did.
Vocalist Michael Barr had this to say on the new song, quote, "Sidewinder is an unapologetic hate letter to a world gone mad, especially the corruption within the music industry. It offers an unfiltered perspective on a society in chaos with no optimism or positivity. It's a song that captures the feeling of everything unraveling as we know it," end quote. So I think that beautifully sums up the emotional drive behind the song.
I'm gonna hit you with something insane right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Sidewinder, unapologetic hate letter, world gone mad, corruption, society in chaos. Sam, next album called Sadder.
Ooh, well, am I insane or did
Get a
Happier
little
have
synergetic with
did
it.
Happier have a question mark next to that album?
Sadder exclamation point.
Look, I can't see it behind me.
It does. It does.
Okay.
Sadder exclamation point.
I actually thought you were naming what should be names of songs on the album.
Matter?
Unapologetic hate letter should be the name of a song. World Gone Mad, corruption within the music industry.
No,
all great
Sidewinder
names.
covers it all. It's all encompassing.
No optimism or positivity would be an insanely heavy song name. Mark's vocalist Mike Terry was also announced this month as the new frontman for Fire from the Gods, replacing previous vocalist AJ Channer. Thoughts?
Insane side story. Like this is
He remains in Volumes as well.
so right. Incredibly important piece when discussing the Volumes news. And then Mike Terry himself just joining Fire from the Gods as another project.
Side quest.
I mean, that's essentially its own news story on its own. Like this is
Right.
pretty crazy. Fire from
Yeah.
the Gods a band I've really enjoyed over the years that has been sort of like inconsistent as far as like, feels like we got an album and then we waited a little long for the second album. And then it feels like that band's been missing for like the last 3-4 years.
So it appears, and I haven't done my due diligence on this, but AJ Channer seems to have some serious issues that need to be handled. He may not be of the most upstanding moral character, unfortunately. And the
Allegedly.
band has essentially parted ways with him and found a replacement. So who knows how long this has been in the works.
Moving on from all that though, like I love myself some Mike Terry. This is actually like, this is two things for me, right? This is, holy shit, more Mike Terry is awesome. I think that this is a really cool fit for him. I think that he could do a lot of cool things with Fire from the Gods. It seems like Volumes is taking very clearly maybe a different direction. They certainly do not sound like Fire from the Gods in any capacity.
Yeah.
So to hear like what will likely be like some more clean vocals from Mike Terry, let him keep, spreading his wings and being like the outstanding vocalist that he is, maybe give us a little bit more of that Different Animals Mike Terry taste again, that is one of my favorite albums of all time. It was my favorite album the year it released. The other thing though, other side of that coin, is with Volumes clearly like firmly stepping in the direction of really heavy genty Volumes. I think it's very apparent that we're not going to get some Michael Barr cleans. Who knows about Michael Terry cleans?
I mean, it's
on
hard
this
to say
upcoming
what
album.
the entirety of the album is going to sound like on the basis of a one single, but this is certainly reminiscent of more of a throwback, heavier style of Volumes in particular.
But
again, it's not to say that Happier didn't have some level.
let me finish my thought though. The idea that Mike Terry can go and do a quote unquote side project with Fire from the Gods, I don't know which one at this point gets favored. Michael Barr, you can start getting all back up on that solo project shit again. There is room for both. I feel like when you rejoined Volumes, there was promise that side project stuff, like your solo material itself, would not be going away. And it fucking did. And I'm pretty heartbroken about that to this day.
Yeah.
I think there's room. I'm gonna need a little bit of taste. I really like myself some clean, spitting type vocals from Michael Barr, and we have not had those in like 6-7 years, and I like those as much as like all the screaming stuff, but like I think there's room for both. I want some more of that. It doesn't have to be in Volumes. I'm saying bring back that solo material. Sidewinder though, really excited about it, really excited for what seems like the promise of a brand new album from Volumes. And how many monthly listeners on Spotify do they have, Sam?
Volumes currently carry over 300,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Split Chain have dropped new single Bored, Tired, Torn. The band will release their debut album, Motion Blur, July 11th via Epitaph Records. Marcos, I'm not sure actually if we've discussed this band on the show in the past. So how do you feel about Split Chain, given that this may very well be our introduction to them and to our audience?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting topic of discussion to lead with, where we can't remember if we've talked about this band in the past.
Yeah.
Where it's like, is that indicative of like their presence or the type of music they make? I don't know. But this news track that we got from the band, Bored, Tired, Torn, is like a good introduction, or apparently a reintroduction maybe. And I, at this point, like Split Chain.
I apologize for how I framed this up top.
Well, I listen, all that there's left to discuss is really great stuff though. Okay. So Split Chain have a new song, video, debut album called Motion Blur, I think is really fucking cool, Sam. And they're on Epitaph Records, and it feels like when Epitaph put their neck out for like a slightly heavier band like this,
Stamp of approval.
it's always worth paying attention to. For sure. Stamp of approval, 100%.
I really enjoyed the music video for this. There are some really clean shots of this. So it feels like it's sort of a broken down home type beat.
Stop me if you've heard that before.
And there are some really clean shots of the vocalist laying down on like the middle of the living room floor while everything in the world sort of happens around them. And you see like other band members or like family members
It's
or
a staticky
based
TV
on the
in
storyline sort of like
background.
all moving around behind him. I think it's a really neat framing convention and it was a really cool shot overall. So it feels like aesthetically this band has a vision too. Bassist Tom Davies had this to say on the new album, quote, "It was crucial for us to create an album that felt like a cohesive piece of art while still being sonically diverse. We wanted to capture the feeling of growing up in an era where albums were more than just a collection of songs. They were experiences meant to be played start to finish over and over again," end quote. Marcos, literally music to my ears. Telling me exactly what I want to hear. I love when a band takes the development of an album to be more than just a collection of singles, but an actual serious project meant to convey an overall feeling, emotion, or idea.
100%. It's a little funny how they phrased it, though. We wanted to capture the feeling of growing up in an era when albums were more than just collections of songs. I feel like that is an action that you wanted to take.
Well, also
Because
stylistically,
the way it starts off, it's like, oh, you wanted to write an album about growing up in an era where, oh, cool. Where, what is this? Where's this going?
well, let's poke at it a little bit. Do you feel like this is the case of this band kind of having a certain level of this 90s grunge nu metal style, which would very much speak to an era where albums were deeply important?
Yeah, I mean, sure. To me, it almost read like that was the feeling they were trying to convey with the album, as opposed to what they were trying to present or capture, rather.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Now, there
Just
was a
how it was
little bit, I
phrased.
didn't pull the entirety of the quote, so maybe there was a little bit more context given that would have shined some light on this. I kind of pulled the piece that spoke the most to me. So that being the fact, you can go look up the rest of that and maybe it would fill in the blanks there. Vocalist Bert Martinez had this to say on the new single, quote, "Bored, tired, torn explores the difficulty and pain of growing up in a broken childhood home. Thematically, the song centers on whether or not someone should have to deal with the shit they're dealt by relatives just because they're family," end quote. Heavy subject matter, Marcos, certainly topics that we've seen touched on before in the alternative music scene, but I think this band framed it incredibly well with the music video.
Yeah, and in a way that's not like, it's not that distracting subject-wise, as far as how it's presented in like the video or anything. So I think they deliver on a pretty solid song, pretty solid video. Looking forward to Motion Blur out July 11th. Sam. We're finally getting July releases.
The band will be on tour starting April 24th in Pittsburgh through early May. Split Chain currently set at nearly 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And finally, Marcos, last new song of the week. TSS have unleashed a new single, Something in the Way. New album, End of Time, hits June 27th via Fearless Records, and the album will include features from Cult, which is a song that is already out and you can go listen to, and Wind Waker, which is a song that is not out and you cannot listen to currently.
Is this band fucking aura farming right now?
In what capacity?
Something in the Way. Is this not the Nirvana song that was in the Batman?
I had to pause because I knew the Nirvana song was not named that. It's not actually named that, but I did pause and think to myself, is this a cover?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I had to hold. Yeah, but I don't think that's the name of the actual Nirvana song, right? Like I think the Nirvana song, obviously that's like the chorus.
Yeah,
but
they're
I don't
all
think,
called like Creep or whatever, but like same idea.
God damn it is called Something in the Way.
Shut up.
Yeah, it is. Are they
This is no
aura
coincidence.
farming?
RTSS aura farming.
To be brutally honest, I feel like every time I watch a music video of this band, I think to myself, yes, they are aura farming. Yeah, but they're incredibly good at it.
Right, they're good at it, and they know what they got. Okay, so new album, End of Time. I like that as a fucking album title too.
Yeah. Also, can we push a little bit here? Do we think Something in the Way by TSS is quietly stronger than the Nirvana song?
So right,
Like it's got a little more sauce, if we're being honest.
I think it's possible, Sam.
The Nirvana song only got sauce when they put it over a Batman trailer. This one can stand
James
on its own.
Gunn got this band on the phone. They said, hey, we can't reuse that Nirvana song again when the Batman 2 comes out. We need another version of that song.
James Gunn did not direct the Batman for what it's worth.
You're right, but he's in charge now.
Sure, he's the boss, I guess. You're right.
Van, have anything to say on this?
I like the idea that James Gunn is like, hey, we want to do something in the way again, but we need a different version for the Superman movie. If you could provide us one.
The Superman one.
Yeah. Like we want a slightly different flavor, but we know that song also works really well.
Comes out.
This
around
isn't
the
a cover
same
in any
time.
capacity. This is some weird, super meshed blend of a million different genres that this band does, and they do it incredibly well. I actually think Cult and Wind Waker are good adjacent for fans of when it comes to this band. So that the fact that they're all teaming up means that there's some sort of little niche group of artists all kind of doing the same thing that I think are building their own small corner of the scene for themselves. And it's one that I very much want to be a part of because I love all of these bands.
Well, I also think that all three of those bands are, for all their similarities, they're all very sonically different.
Yes, I agree with that, but I feel like they all strive for the same level of like musical, like an amalgamation of a different million things in a single song, right?
Yeah.
A lot of electronics, a lot of mix between like sort of softer and heavier stuff. TSS is definitely doing all that. The band had this to say on the new single, quote, "Something in the Way tells the story of a protagonist who witnessed the fall of a loved one into the darkness of depression with no means of remedy," end quote.
No means of remedy.
I deeply wanted this to be Something in the Way tells the story of a protagonist who witnesses the death of their parents and goes on to
the angle I was
become a vigilante.
Here, the angle I wanted to take here was I kind of want this band to inject some Sleep Token phrasing in how they sell their music. I wanted it to be like, tells the story of a protagonist who witnesses the fall of a loved one into the darkness of the melancholia. Mm-hmm. Like get rid of depression. Like that word
succumbs to.
Right,
yes,
right,
I'm
right,
with
right.
you.
With no means of a remedy. Like they kind of had it there at the end, but like depression is such a blah word. Like melancholy.
Do you think
if
if I took a press release and put it into ChatGPT and I said, write this like I'm Sleep Token, that we're at the point where it could actually pull from enough press release context to feed me something back that makes sense?
Alternatively, testing it to see like how much of it was an AI generated
this is
thing
not
already.
This is not an endorsement of AI.
No.
TSS currently foster over 180,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
The Breakdown.
Marcos, we've got a brand new review this week for an unreleased album dropping the Friday that you're listening to this. That's right. Bodies by Thornhill. Key bullet points here up at the top. Bodies is the band's third studio album out this Friday via UNFD. It's the follow-up to 2022's Heroin and 2019's The Dark Pool. It features singles Silver Swarm, Tongues, Nerve, and Obsession. The album was produced by Adrian Bushby, known for his work with Foo Fighters and Muse. Sam Basal, who is the drummer and producer for Ocean Grove, and Thornhill. Pause.
To
Pause.
cut you off here.
Sure.
I heard Sam Basal
Mm-hmm.
all over this one.
In a sense that, like, having listened to the most recent Ocean Grove album, you feel there is
And the recent
some-
stuff that Sam produced last year, I'm blanking on what that was, but I remember that name coming up a whole bunch. This is very Ocean Grove-y, Sam Basal, like that. It has that influence for sure.
It tastes a bit like Sam Basal. I feel you. The band currently hold nearly 540,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Brace yourselves. I have 4 paragraphs from the band on the album Bodies. Quote, Bodies marks a bold evolution in our ever-developing sound. Heroin was defined by its meticulously crafted and tightly woven concept, but the weight of this careful construction sometimes overshadowed the energy of the music itself, leaving some listeners feeling disconnected.
That's paragraph 1. And I I didn't realize that was maybe one of the sentiments around that record. I thought with Heroin, it was beloved by all, including us here at SOTS.
I cannot speak for others, but, and this will be one of my talking points in reviewing this album, Heroin is a masterpiece. With Bodies, we've embraced a more immediate, unfiltered approach that feels like a lightning bolt, looking to capture the energy of Thornhill right now. The album thrives on spontaneity and freedom, forgoing rigid concepts in favor of pure in-your-face authenticity. It's less about delivering a carefully constructed narrative and more about creating a visceral, open-ended experience. Body serves as a sonic mood board, a collection of feelings and vibes intentionally left open to interpretation. It has an upbeat and almost celebratory party energy at times, but also retains all the emotion and intensity Thornhill are known for, making it our heaviest and most explosive work to date. And finally, with Bodies, we invite listeners to connect on their own terms. It's raw, personal, and unapologetically immediate, a record that thrives in the moment, capturing our band at our most authentic and free. Marcos, if you would like to kick us off, as always, we will lay out 5 talking points we have about the album before summing up our overall feelings and delivering a letter grade.
Yeah, that's you. That's not me this episode.
What is you this episode?
I'm taking this in a different direction.
Sure. Marcos, the floor is yours.
Sam, you and I have been podcasting for 10 years, talking about the scene for 10 years.
Unfortunately.
Actually, this isn't where I want to go. First, I want to start with, just because I wrote it out, so I want to actually say it out loud.
Go ahead.
Born too late to have any respect for the Beatles. Born too early to hear the next My Chemical Romance album. Born just in time to be horny for Thorny. Am I right, Sam? Can I get a fist bump? That's right. All right. The direction I'm going to take this review in is I'm going to continue to lay out some details here. We take this job very seriously. We like clockwork, put our ass on this couch once a week to come review albums. When it's all said and done, Sam, it's about reviewing the album. It's about
all true.
Sitting down, listening to these records, and then sharing our thoughts with the world. And a band did something that I found pretty disrespectful, honestly. Alpha Wolf. They went ahead and reviewed this album 2 months ago before we even had the opportunity to hear it.
With Thornhill's permission. Yes.
Well, debatable. How much permission was really there? Did every single, member sign off on it? I don't know.
Deeply curious where we're going with this.
So my review will be a review from a professional critic here at the SOTS podcast of Alpha Wolf's review of Bodies.
And my review is a very well-crafted and thought-out, deeply, maybe even thought-provoking take on this album. But Marcos, I think that for the sake of continuity, you should do your review, and then I will follow up with mine, since they seem to be
I do have a couple takeaways.
completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
You cut in where necessary, though, Sam.
Yeah, I'll hit you with it if I may, if I need to.
Will.
Yeah.
And I might allow that, too. Listen, at the end of the day, I take our territory very seriously. And when others start selling on our ground, Sam, I'm not going to stand for that, and I have to step in.
Okay, so just to establish where we're at currently, you are going to review Alpha Wolf's review of Thornhill's brand new album, Bodies.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Going to show how a real critic does this, okay? So at 7:44 p.m., 2/16, Alpha Wolf, the official account on Twitter, tweeted out, "Official at Thornhill Bodies album review thread, not sponsored. We haven't been paid shit because they're tight asses."
We also haven't been paid for for what that's worth.
Never say the quiet part out loud, Sam. So that's how I'm kicking off this review, Alpha Wolf. You fucking rooks. You rookies. Do they have that word in Australia?
Who's taking paid reviews? I want names.
Fantano, bro.
Alpha Wolf. Oh, we're not doing that.
Big fucking.
We are not accusing Fantano.
Big fucking r/metalcore paying for these poor fucking Sleep Token reviews.
What do you think a 10 for the new Spirit Box album would cost from Fantano? What are we cleaning 10K on that?
I think we clean 10. I think we're talking 15.
Okay.
They continue. Same tweet. Strap yourselves in. Grab a coffee, a light snack. And if we fuck up some grammar, it's YOLO because X has no edit feature unless you pay for it.
They have YOLO in Australia. That's fun to know.
That is pretty fun to know. So a lot of this is common knowledge, Alpha Wolf. You don't actually have to tell us that, X doesn't have an edit feature. We all kind of know that. We all have all gone to edit our own tweets. This is common knowledge. It shouldn't be knowledge that you assume we don't know. So that's like a weird thing to say right off the top.
And if I could just say on my
I don't
end
read
real
album
quick,
reviews.
I'm going to actually be giving an actual review of this album. This was arguably my most anticipated album of the year. Like, it's right up there with Sleep Token as far as I'm concerned. Heroin is a masterpiece, and I can't wait to get into it. Continue.
Also, who's like reading reviews with a coffee and a light snack? I ask that everyone listens to our podcast, our reviews of albums on an empty stomach, so that you can really focus on what is being said.
What's that weird shit they eat in Australia? Like fucking Marmaduke or some
Marmaduke.
shit? Yeah. Marmaduke.
Marmaduke.
Yeah. Whatever the fuck that is, bro. That's what they're eating.
And I have a lot of respect for Australians not named Alpha Wolf, by the way. Like, I really hold Thornhill in very high esteem.
Yeah, honestly, all Australians except for Alpha Wolf.
Except for Alpha Wolf.
Yeah, sure.
Again, because like kind of our territory, so stay out.
Yeah, exactly.
They start with Diesel. Here's what they had to say about it, Sam.
It's the opening track on the album, for the record.
Fat bass up your ass. I think they think that maybe these two words rhyme because they have a lot of the same letters. So weird way to kick off that review of that track. Jacob throws in a sneaky who, and we love it. That part's right. Jacob on that track delivers the who in the same way that, like, I'm talking like prime top of his game Sam Carter used to deliver Bliss in Architects.
Yeah, I think
10
it's fair
years
to say
ago.
that Jacob is in his bag on Diesel.
In his bag.
Because he is on the vast majority of this record.
The song is going to be fun to watch a row of headbangers in unison. Fucking love headbangers.
Unison,
Never
but
put Diesel
keep
in an
going.
unleaded unison. Just continue to
I just mean, if you want to sit here and criticize Alpha Wolf's use of language, at the very least you could pronounce words accurately. Otherwise, it's embarrassing for both of us, as this whole segment has been so far.
Here's what spawned this part of the review for me.
Yeah.
They're my angle on this review, which was what they had to say about Revolver, Sam.
The second song of the album. I'm guessing this is going to go in numerical order.
It does, believe it or not.
Yeah.
A song about our favorite club is what they had to say. I guess that's a shared thing between both bands. I'm not really sure. Also, I would guess they're talking about a music venue that these bands perform at and not like a Charlie XCX style club.
I think I might push back and disagree with you a little bit there. I feel like a lot of what I get from Thornhill on this album, as I did on Heroin, is some level of
But I don't get that from Alpha
grimy
Wolf.
nightclub.
I have some thoughts about that. I'll get into a little later on.
Sure.
Chorus belongs in a fucking movie starring Ryan Gosling doing some psycho shit for the love of his life. Middle breakdown smacks and can picture aforementioned Ryan going full send surrounded by neon lights. This is the biggest undersell of any track I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay.
Revolver off of the third album, Bodies by Thornhill, is the best track I've heard this year by a million miles. It is the best track this band has ever written. It is my favorite Thornhill song, and it's probably got my favorite breakdown of the year so far. That middle breakdown that they call, what is that word? They said it smacks, is again one of the biggest like undersells I've ever seen in my life.
I actually agree with you.
And if you're going to take this review shit seriously, Alpha Wolf, then you better pick your game up.
I'm actually starting to get the impression that maybe Alpha Wolf wasn't taking this review shit seriously, but
and I took offense to that.
Maybe we're gonna get to like their take on like Nerve, and they're gonna get really intricate in like how they phrase their feelings on it.
They might. They did continue on. Hit the fucking character limited. Continued. Final breakdown has Ryan turn into fucking Godzilla. Fucking shit up with atomic breath. Should have been a single, guys. Come on. Here's where they're right, Sam. Cannot believe this was not a single. One of my main takeaways about this album is that for all the love that I have for each of the singles,
what song are we talking about right now?
Revolver still.
Okay.
Nerve, Obsession.
I thought we had moved on to Silver Swarm, and I was about to push back and be like, is everyone aware that this actually is a single?
Nerve,
or am I going
Obsession,
right now? Okay.
Silver Swarm, All incredible songs. Really love all of them, especially Obsession.
Mm-hmm.
They are not the best tracks on this album by a mile.
I actually think that is a reward for the listener,
100%.
as far as I'm concerned. Yes.
100%.
But that being said, I think I will stick strongly to the fact that I feel that Nerve, Obsession, and Silver Swarm are actually some of the best tracks on this album easily.
Ooh, disagree. I mean, yes, but disagree.
Obsession in particular is actually one of my favorite Thornhill songs of all time. I think the chorus for that is just like, it's so everything I have grown to want from this band, executed perfectly.
You'll get into all that, Sam. I'm not done roasting.
Sure,
Wolf.
yes. When you're done roasting Alpha Wolf, I will be reviewing the brand new album, Bodies from Thornhill. Yes, that's correct.
Silver Swarm, they continue on. Booty Shakin', you've heard it. You love it. We love it. Our review is should have been Revolver as the single, but we'll let it slide. You do you. Incoherent sentences just being put together over here. I mean, I say sentences. That was a bit of a run on. You can't sell, Sam, you just did an excellent job of what Alpha Wolf failed to do, which is selling us on how all of these tracks that you may have already heard. Obsession, Sam, that might be one of your favorite Thornhill songs, period.
Yeah.
You didn't just say, you've heard it, you know it, let's move on.
Right. And it's unfortunate because Twitter is the place for well thought out long form.
I like that neither of us can.
So, that Alpha Wolf did not take advantage of that is a shortcoming on their end.
It's gross, Sam.
Yeah.
It's gross. Only Ever You, they continue on. Sick intro riff, Ethan, which we wrote it. This is going to be an absolute road trip bop. Windows down, cruising the Great Ocean Road at sunset. That must be someplace in Australia, Sam.
I like that Alpha Wolf kind of talks like they know bands because they do, and I talk like I know bands, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like they're on a first name basis with them actually, and I'm on a first name basis with them metaphorically.
Hair's flowing, and you were thinking to yourself, fuck yeah, cheers for the good times, Thorny. That's not how you are supposed to think, bands.
I'm a little bit, I'm going to be deeply honest with you right now.
Don't piss me off, Sam.
At this point, I'm kind of siding with Alpha Wolf
Why?
and their general takes. I think they're actually doing a succinct job of summing up the general feeling that you get listening to this album. A disservice to this band. Even though they're not going on at length of why it's so incredible. And, interesting enough, early on in Thornhill's general statement on the feelings behind the album was that it would serve as a mood board where the listener could place their individual feelings on each song. And I think that is very much what Alpha Wolf is doing here. I think they're like following Thornhill's direction.
You'd think that, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, based on everything that you're reading to me, I think
Fall into the wind.
I think that.
All right, Thorny, we're going to need a 500-word essay on why you felt the need to throw this in. We get it. A little artsy moment or whatever, but we were going so strong. Bring back beast mode, Ryan Gosling.
I take everything back.
Alpha
This
Wolf,
is a fundamental misunderstanding of what Thornhill is doing on this album, and Alpha Wolf simply does not understand.
Deep misunderstanding, underappreciation for what is the art form of an instrumental track, Sam. This is this should be a game knows game moment, and this is game clearly not recognizing game.
I think it's fair to criticize a lot of bands for trying to inject one of these unnecessarily into their album. Thornhill is not that band, and this criticism is invalid.
Especially because of how well each and every track flows into each other, Sam.
Agreed.
Like, this is a master class as far as...
There is explicitly continuity from the end of each song into the beginning of the next song. Yes, yeah. Okay.
Well, and it's cool, too, because, like, this band going and saying, like, hey, this isn't, like, the carefully crafted conceptual thing that, like, the beast that was the last record, and yet they still can't shake a lot of that sort of, really emphasizing the details moments. It's just sort of like entwined in their DNA.
I think a lot of it is like, and God knows we all try to steer clear of this word when reviewing albums, but so much of it feels like vibes. And I think when it comes to capturing vibes, Thornhill are arguably the master craftsmen.
Less about Thornhill. Let's get more into Alpha Wolf, Sam.
Yeah, enough about Thornhill, right? We'll get to Thornhill later when I review their brand new album, Bodies.
Don't say it. Tongues. We're about halfway through, Sam.
Indeed we are. I'm going to need you to pick up the pace slightly.
Back into the groove as it should be. Big vibes on Tongues. Sitting inside, rain sitting the window, and you've only got the lamps on. Maida, which is one of the band members, I didn't realize that was her name, hits a little blast beat to show he's got it, and it's all straight vibes. That's right, blast beats in a Thornhill song, believe it or not. One of the, believe it or not, heavier tracks on here. Also, top 3 track for me on this record.
Okay,
between, again, Revolver, then Tongues. That's my top 2 so far.
Did we gloss over you because we were making jokes or something? Because that is also a contender for one of the best songs on this album.
Great Ocean Road at sunset, hair flowing. You're thinking to yourself, fuck yeah, cheers for the good times. This is what I mean. Like, Alpha Wolf just glosses over another great track too. Okay. Move on to the single, Sam. Yeah. Nerve. Really testing my patience on the capitalization and lowercase of these track names here. Will forgive you because this was a fave when you first dropped it. You guys have the special sauce that Raising Cane's be serving. Finally, this band's cooking a little bit of something with this review.
Yeah, and speaking of track names, it was Only Ever You. I'm correcting myself, sorry.
Yeah.
Raising Cane's sauce. I do like that. That is a good description. I've actually never had Raising Cane's in my life, which is crazy.
It's, my understanding is essentially mayo and ketchup and Worcestershire sauce.
And okay, so you're saying you've also never had Raising Cane's?
No, I've had it, but I can't tell you. I don't have the.
You can't tell me what it tasted like.
Well, I don't have the. I'm not a fucking food reviewer, Sam. I'm a goddamn music reviewer.
On a bender,
Jesus.
Did you happen to have some Raising Cane's?
I can just do everything. Anyway,
we're gonna have to do a live review of Raising Cane's on the show.
They move on to Obsession. Also, they did touch on the fact that the capitalization and the lowercase stuff. It's definitely a little, back and forth.
It's vibes. If you don't understand
vibes,
it's fine. But Thornhill understands vibes.
Obsession. Isn't this song old as fuck? May as well throw Where We Go When We Die on the album while we're at it. A-Boys.
Deeply disrespectful. One of the best songs on the album.
Obsession.
Insane.
One of Thornhill's best songs, period.
Yeah, agreed.
Crush leads me to my third favorite track off of this record. My top 3 rounding it out. Again, that is... Tongues, Revolver, and Crush, not in that order. All caps letters are back. A little experimental moment. Hey, this is going in my emo beats playlist. Definitely a track 09 type of vibe, but well executed, different, but good different, like Nutella in a milkshake. While I like the Nutella in a milkshake line, Sam, I think that this song, again, is served an injustice here via the words that Alpha Wolf has to say about it, and what they shared. Definitely a track 09 type of vibe, feels dismissive. I think this is that bitch even is what I would call this track.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the wildest approaches you've ever taken to review an album. I'm having difficulty focusing right now.
I can't believe you right now. Don't say it like that.
I cannot wait for your summation of your feelings on Alpha Wolf's review of Bodies by Thornhill, followed by a letter grade. Wild shit.
Under the Knife. We're in the home stretch here. First 30 seconds, I'm hooked. Could be a fave from the get-go. This is one of those tracks to show someone thorny for the first time. It's got all the different flavors you want to show off. I think this hits the nail on the head well enough. We move on to For Now. Final track, love a fucking album closer. Beautiful track, trying to not be soppy on main, but you're almost catching me off guard. You guys do this sound so well, and my hat's off to you. Alpha Wolf, another rookie mistake here. If you really loved closers the way that you claim to, you would have not been caught so off guard by a beautiful track to close out an album. This is a staple, especially within our scene. Maybe let's not act so stupid next time, Alpha Wolf. Final notes, their closing thoughts here. 9 out of 10. Aussie horny music is going strong and is in good hands.
Hey, they're not wrong.
Singles just scratch the surface. This album is a road trip lord. Some Aussie fucking speech that's pissing me off, Sam. And a bedroom slayer. let's tour together soon, cunts. And that's how they close off. Looks like it took them way longer than the album is to sum up some thoughts on it.
Sure.
It's about an hour later that they were able to tweet this final
They had to
thought.
sit with it for a little bit. Now, let me ask you this, Marcus, real quick. Do you want to give your summations of your review of Alpha Wolf's review of Bodies with a letter grade, or would you like me to give my review first?
You can clearly see that Alpha Wolf maybe don't have the sauce as far as music reviews are concerned. I think that they are far outside of their element here. And I think that Alpha Wolf, you should stick to the music because you're far better at that.
Okay. And the letter grade?
This is a C-.
And that is a review of Alpha Wolf's review of Bodies?
Correct. And the reason I found this appropriate to do, Sam, for this review was this is really the only other review out there that's not ours about this new album from Thornhill. And I'll be damned if I let this band undersell what is, you'll get into it, such an amazing album.
And the case, of course, would be because it specifically says in our review copy that no review can be released prior to Monday when this episode is dropping.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to ask you just one more time. Would you like to give any thoughts on the album and a review and or letter score?
I'll do that after you.
After me? Okay, sure. So, my review of Bodies by Thornhill. 5 takeaways. Let's start with expectations, Marcos. Astronomically high. Heroin is arguably one of the greatest rock records of the 21st century, boldly establishing Thornhill as a class above the rest within the alternative music scene. The way that album presents its sound as if performed amongst the opulence of a grand ballroom, but with the feeling of a grimy nightclub, is stylistically unrivaled.
Alpha Wolf could never.
I want to talk
review
about
in this way.
Jacob Charlton and his entrancing, beautiful vocal delivery, and how it's replicated by no other. Marcus, let's talk about Only Ever You, which is full of those pitch-perfect gravity-defying deliveries that float from his lips directly to the heavens. And while this is an example of Jacob's delivery, it only scratches the surface of his range throughout this record, which bounces from screeching to angelic, often within a singular track. Obsession is another quintessential clinic, stylistically brilliant, wielding of his voice. Marcus, I want to talk about raw simplicity in these instrumentals. The breakdown in Revolver, which was mentioned earlier in Alpha Wolf's review, feels genuinely bare bones without any sort of production wizardry injected, and is simply buoyed by the enormous talent and capability for this and to craft an instrumental that is immediately compelling by the band. Is just, it's something that I went back and I listened to this breakdown over and over again, and I could not fathom how they were able to create something that feels so simple yet so perfect and so fresh all at once.
That breakdown, Sam, and again, I'm not trying to oversell it, but it changed my brain chemistry.
It was extremely good. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It was extremely good. Marcus, later on in Nerve, the band kick off the proceedings with a nasty little riff that whips back and forth throughout the song, and a chorus that explodes into another ethereal vocal delivery from Jacob Charlton, shadowed by an instrumental composed of pure beauty. Let's talk about creating soundscapes that fully envelop your senses. Crush is unlike anything this band has done before, and the way it washes over you with its soft dulcet tones and light electronic elements is transcendent in its experience. It's a song so gorgeous in sound, I wish I could crawl inside of it and make myself a little home. Under the Knife opens like it's malfunctioning before blasting into this blissful electronic backdrop, and Fall Into the Wind is a perfect ambient atmosphere weaponized for a soft transition from one stage of the album to the next, something that was thoroughly lost on Alpha Wolf, unfortunately, but not on myself. And I want to talk about expression, Marcos. This band is incredibly deft at expressing feeling and emotion through their music in ways that feel genuine and authentic. It creates a symbiotic relationship with the listener, where you feel even manipulated at times by the way this record is emotionally tuned to trigger a reaction for you, never more astutely than on the track For Now, which will have you pining for someone as if it's your own personal life experience. To sum up my feelings, Marcos, this band captivates your attention for every single second. once again showcases an immense talent and delivers an imaginative and deeply engrossing experience. The band continues to bleed elegance and filth all at once, crafting a series of grotesquely romantic ballads for the listener to become fully enveloped in. It's filled with angst and desire. The record manages the seemingly impossible, contending with its predecessor as another pure masterpiece in the alternative space that begs to be returned to, mulled over, and swam in endlessly for years to come. Thornhill are the apex predator, and the animal kingdom looks up at their dominance within the space once again. A+.
Take a fucking bow, Sam.
Take a fucking bow, Thornhill.
Take a bow, you as well. That's how you review an album, okay? That's impressive.
As I often feel coming from an album that I have such strong feelings for that it's almost impossible for a band to live up to them with the subsequent release. I can't believe that Thornhill did that very thing. And I'm deeply grateful for it because I have another absolutely masterful album to add to the library of some of my favorite releases of all time.
Love all that. I've got a couple of extra thoughts I'd like to actually throw in for a real review on my end. I do agree. This is an A+ for me, Sam. Absolutely one of my most anticipated albums of the year. And I think that Thornhill not only deliver, but I think they deliver what is for me their best album. And I say that as, of course, a massive fan of Heroin. You and I were fucking in love with that album when it first dropped, still are, but even just from like my first, my impressions that I've had just listening to this album over the course of the week, is how desperately I come crawling back to it frequently. I'm talking about an album that isn't even out yet officially, and I'm constantly just pulling up our email, going back and hitting play on this album. I cannot put it down. It is magnetic. It is synergetic. It's all of these things that just result in a record that fully envelops you. I think you said something similar earlier. And as much as I loved Heroin, I feel like I definitely haven't spent maybe as much time as an album I hold in that type of esteem. I don't revisit as frequently as maybe I expect to with an album like this, which is just, again, another record that bleeds authenticity. I love the approach where they go from really crafting a cool conceptual piece to here where they really prioritize like maybe the live experience, just how all of these songs feel together as one. And it almost results in, it almost just feels like one just long experience in the sense of like, man, I feel like you press play on this album and you don't put it down. Like you let it ride out. You always let it ride out. There's not a song that you skip on this record. You are engaged in every single moment because Thornhill fucking demand your attention at every turn. I love all of the switch ups as far as like, and I'll call this a switch up. Like I was surprised by how heavy this record is.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Something we haven't really touched on in this review.
So Revolver was the one we sort of like went back and forth on, but it's like Diesel also kicks this album off like insanely heavy.
And like Jacob sounds ferocious. Like it is the sonic equivalent of what feels like a shark breaking the water line or whatever, bursting through the water and just chasing after like a seal or something. Like it, every time he's screaming, it just looks like a shark, jaws open, thousands of fucking teeth staring back at you. It just feels fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. But then for like that like woo in Diesel to be delivered with like the same intensity that it feels like you got from like Sam Carter, like we were saying earlier, in his prime, 2015, 2016, whatever it might be, like even the soft moments are fucking, and there's plenty of those, like they're awesome. Everything about this record is awesome. I do have a lot to say about like everything, but like definitely those top 3 songs I mentioned are fucking insane. Again, Revolver is probably my favorite song of the year. Tongues is Jacob's vocals on full display in all of the coolest ways. And then Crush is like exactly what this record needed. It is very clearly different from the rest, but it does not at all feel out of place.
And it pairs well with Under the Knife, which comes immediately after.
Totally. And I think that, you know, this is one of those records that absolutely does not overstay its welcome. It's like a clean 35-40 minutes. It's got some of the best songs this band's ever written. Some of those are the singles, Sam. You're not wrong. Like Obsession, Nerve are awesome. Even Silver Swarm, I think, is really great too. But again, then you have these other 3 songs that aren't even released yet. You have Diesel kicking off this record. You have For Now closing it. And I don't know. All that to say, this record's fucking perfect. Thornhill deliver another great one. I'm running out of arguments to tell you that this is not one of my favorite bands right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like here alone, they jump like another 5 spots. And I think they're comfortably in like the top 5 right now. And I cannot wait to see all of these tracks live, or whatever songs I haven't caught live. I believe we maybe caught like Obsession live once on that North Lane tour last year. But like all of these songs I can see fitting into a track list. And now I'm immediately excited about catching this band live. I know they have a big North American tour lined up in April, kicks off in April. It hasn't started yet. And immediately, like, I think all of these songs are going to pop off. And that's where I really appreciate, like, some of the producing people that they armed around them. You know, Thornhill taking production credits here, but they got Sam from Ocean Grove, who's fucking amazing. And it makes everything sound so busy yet clean and maybe understandable is not the word I'm looking for here, but like I always know what's happening, even though I feel
Coherent.
like I'm fucking, it feels like there is a weighted blanket of noise on me at all times, but everything's coherent for sure. And then like you bring someone who's worked with Foo Fighters and the Muse into the fold, and Adrian Bushby, and like, I don't know. I think that they lined up all the right pieces here. I think they delivered an incredible album. This is the best record I've heard this year. And I've said that once or twice, but, and you know, it's so early in the year that like naturally there's a fluctuation as you listen to new albums over the course of the year. But I think that this record versus like all the hype and expectations around it, firmly at number 1, and it's put the most amount of space between any number 1 album I've had this year and second place, to where I think they're pretty comfortable for a while now. And, you know, granted, like Sleep Token is in May, so like how long this band can hold on to something like that, who knows? And I know that we have a lot of great albums lined up this year that, you know, are being recorded right now that haven't even been announced yet. You know, we don't know what those look like, but I absolutely know that when it comes end of year time, we will be talking about Thornhill. We will be talking about Bodies. I love how fucking wet and sweaty and fucking throbbing this record is. It is incredible.
Okay, Marcos, do you want to give your final letter grade?
A+, 100%.
Okay.
One of the easiest A+s without even having to consider much at all.
Let us know your thoughts on the album once it drops, even if that means you got to circle back on Friday in the comments of our YouTube video. Thanks everyone for listening. If you're hearing us on Spotify or Apple, please leave 5 stars. On YouTube, a thumbs up always helps get us in the algorithm. Thanks. We love you. Bye.
Let me know if we were too tough on Alpha Wolf. Good. Blech.